Coming to you from deep inside the bowels of a great big empty. Get ready for another episode of The Home Defense Show with Skip Coryell.
And that was Golden Glenn, the official announcer of the Home Defense Show, and I'm your host, Skip Coryell, author of 22 books, Marine Corps veteran, founder of the Second Amendment March, proud father of 7, grandfather to 20 and counting, and as a special bonus, I'm also madly in love with my own wife. My priorities in life are God, family, and country, in that order, and I hereby promise to never compromise in my convictions. I may go broke, but I'll never go woke. But before we get too far into the show, let's thank our sponsors, United States Concealed Carry Association, shootingclasses.com, Center Shot Indoor Gun Range, and Trinity Training and Security. All right, and joining me today is Trevor DeGroote. Trevor, welcome back to the Home Defense Show.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me back, Skip. I appreciate it.
Well, it's always fun. I like just sitting down and talking with another instructor about, guns, equipment, gear, skills, all different aspects of training and things like that. So it's always a pleasure for me to talk with you. Before we get too far into it, just give us a 30-second bio about Trinity, what you guys do, and things that you enjoy.
Yeah. So we primarily focus on training and security. So on the training side of the house, firearms, medical, workplace safety, things like that. On the security side, everything from event security to close protection details for individuals. And then, on kind of a more personal note, I've published a couple books, Prepared to Prevail and Serving in the Ministry of Protection.
All right, fantastic. And people can go to trinitytrainingandsecurity.com to check that out, correct?
Yep, absolutely. All of our training classes and security inquiries and everything, absolutely visit the website.
All right, fantastic. All right, now, Trevor, what I wanted to talk to you about today was basically training, self-defense training, home defense training, CPL type training, past basically any training that people get to help better defend themselves beyond what is required by the government. Because here's an interesting stat, and this came out of a study done in Texas by Greg Ellifritz. And basically what he found was that in the state of Texas, less than 1% of CPL holders ever went on to get training beyond what is required by the government to get their permit. And I thought that was an interesting stat, but still kind of sad. So, I guess I want you to talk about training that people can get beyond their CPL training, stuff that you recommend. What would you see as like the bare minimum to prepare people for, a self-defense incident?
Yeah, that's definitely a pretty large can of worms. I would say that the biggest short answer would be to really understand that it's a journey and a marathon, not a sprint, and that I guess self-defense capability as a system is more of a concept than a checklist, where it's continual refinement, continual growth in lots of different areas, from firearm proficiency to medical readiness and having the skills and the tools and de-escalation and mindset and situational awareness and all the things. So I think that'd be my first thing, is just really understand that there's not a 4-day plan that can get you to a point where you're set for life, and it's extremely perishable skill sets that we're kind of talking about too. So it's that dedication, motivation is great and that gets people started, but being dedicated and consistent is going to be the key. And I imagine we'll talk about a couple of those key areas I just rattled off here over the next half hour.
Yeah, I certainly agree with you. One of the things I've noticed over the years is that people that you mentioned checklist, they have an actual checklist. It may not be written down, and they may not be aware of it, consciously, but they have this checklist, and it's like they're thinking, hey, I don't feel safe. I want to feel safe. So, what do I need to do? And they say, okay, I need to buy a gun. I need to get a permit so I can carry the gun. Uh,
Hmm.
and it's like, then they get done and they go, oh, okay, now I feel safe. Well, there's a difference between feeling safe and being safe. And so, but people, they just don't see that for some reason. They put emphasis on the feeling of being safe and not actually being safe. Being safe, it's not a binary thing. It's not like you're all safe or you're all unsafe. You know, everyone's different and they have different levels of training and things like that. Um, Talk about some of the training that you've had that you really found valuable, Trevor.
Yeah, I think with what you're getting at too, I mean, it's almost like that thought process was an inspiration for a book or two, but the shove a gun in my pants and call it good and I'm all set and I'm safe. I kind of think about that as if you've got a baseball team jersey and you've got a nice warm spot on the bench, does that make you a pitcher or a catcher or really a baseball player? You remember that team, and every team needs a great cheerleader, and that's great, but that doesn't necessarily make you a baseball player just because you've got the jersey. And that's kind of how I think about that a little bit is having the gun is, you you're participating in the process to a degree, but you're not necessarily a highly skilled player at that point. And that's where answering your question on things I've found extremely helpful on the journey have been really seeking out experts. If the person that gets you into guns may not be the only source that you go to long term, and I would say that that's key because I think a lot of people have a friend or a brother or a cousin or what have you, or dad or uncle that is, as I tend to hear, is into guns or was in the military or was in law enforcement or whatever. I think the biggest thing is really seeking out those experts and making sure that as you progress, your network progresses as well, whether that be through taking classes, through shooting competition. That's something that I believe is a huge opportunity to get reps with moving and shooting and reloads and that kind of stuff. Um, there's some debate there on training value, but at the end of the day, I think it's more productive than golfing as it pertains to shooting skill set. And I would say that that's the big one is place yourself in positions where you're really surrounded with solid people that can give you solid advice, so that you're not just stuck in this echo chamber with one or two people. Or YouTube can be great, but at some point becomes a difference between watching YouTube and actually doing the thing hands on. And um, I would say to really more directly answer your question, the value of a private lesson can't be understated. But once you really get in that environment where you pony up the money to have somebody look one on one at what you're doing to a very personal and direct degree, where they can see you're putting a whole lot of tension in your left shoulder and you're actually driving the gun versus simply just moving the gun from target to target. Just those little fine things. If you're looking for that very detailed refinement, a private lesson is something that I think gets a little bit overlooked. So I would say that's a huge thing to have on the checklist, if you will,
Yeah,
at some point and throughout your
yeah, I,
journey.
I agree with you, Trevor. There are things that you can learn and be taught in a private lesson that you just can't get with a big group because everyone shoots differently. They have different shooting problems, and it's like when a good instructor watches someone shoot and they have the actual time one-on-one to go ahead and make corrections. Boy, you can learn 10 times as much, 10 times faster if you're one-on-one with someone. So I think that is a
Absolutely.
really good idea. It's difficult to get instructors to give you that one-on-one training, because of time constraints and a lot of the instructors they want to go with, okay, I can have a class of 20 and make more money than one-on-one with someone. So I certainly understand that. One thing that I learned just, like within the last 10 years, I was taking a class with John Correa from Active Self-Protection. And he kind of shaped or helped me and refine the advanced classes that I teach. And it was very simple. He just said, you know, there are three basic skills you need to learn to win a gunfight: how to draw, how to move, and how to shoot. And so I had never really thought of it in those terms before, even though, I mean, yeah, if you think about it, it's obvious. But drawing, moving, and shooting, though, basically in that order, that's what you're doing when you're in a gunfight. But those are some of the most difficult skills to learn on your own because you can't see what you're doing. You can't see the mistakes that you're making. Maybe you're flagging your leg all the time, or when you draw, you have your finger on the trigger, or you reholster and your shirt is in the trigger guard. There's all those things that you can't do on your own, but you can do with another instructor.
I think another big point on that too is when you work with an instructor or take a class, you should go home, whether they assign it or not, you should go home with a ton of homework. I really draw on my Dutch roots there, where I think about if I've invested $500 into a class, well, I can turn that $500 into five $100 classes because I can take the class. This is just kind of my math in my mind, and maybe it's to justify it to my wife or something, or to my bank account, whatever it is. But if I take the class and then I can divide it by 5 or 10 or 15 or 20, take great notes, both physically and mentally, and then go home and rep a lot of that stuff dry fire, because that's where I like what you're saying, John said about drawing, shooting, and moving. A lot of that can be done dry fire, where dry fire is one of those things that you can do a lot of the things you can't do at an indoor range. And that's something where, indoor ranges might not be as much of a problem if you're out west or down south or something like that. But especially, where we're at in Michigan, when it's cold, it's rainy, a lot of people flock to the indoor ranges. They're phenomenal. Definitely appreciate them as an asset so that we don't have to shoot when it's 10 degrees out, or when we have quarter-sized hail or any of that kind of stuff. But I think when you're thinking about that, a lot of these indoor ranges are very liability conscious, and they've had plenty of incidents to prove it. So you typically can shoot as long as you're standing in one spot with your feet nice and planted. Typically can't move, typically can't draw, and a lot of times they'll limit how quickly you can fire and that kind of stuff too. So I think if that's a spot somebody listening finds themselves in where they don't have a whole lot of range access, dry fire is going to be your best friend, where you can do a lot of the movement, and a lot of the draw work and acquiring those sites quickly and target transitions and that kind of stuff. And then that's again where I would really plug shooting competition, where, is it perfect training environment? No, because speed is valued over tactics and strategy and that kind of thing. And that's usually the gripe is, it's bad habits, and you're getting into windows and doorways, and you're not utilizing cover, and you can do that. It's just you're going to come in last place in because of time, and a lot of guys have a hard time just agreeing to last place, so they find themselves trying to beat their buddy and go fast and that kind of thing. And so to a degree, I would say that's on you. How you shoot a match is going to be, you're going to get out of it whatever you want to get out of it. And you can absolutely take it slow and utilize it that way. But I would say that's huge. Exactly what he hit on. Work on that draw, get that gun out quick, because self-defense encounters are statistically going to be close and fast. And the moving piece, that's where you're going to buy yourself some distance, which buys you time, which buys you options. And then the shooting part, obviously, you have to be able to hit what you're shooting at so that you can appropriately de-escalate that and get that threat ended. And then obviously, if you're not hitting your target, if you're sending rounds off into the world, that's a huge problem. The deadly threat's the only thing that has earned those rounds. No innocent bystanders, no no property damage, that kind of stuff is obviously the goal. So that mix of, the speed of the draw and the accuracy of the shots and the shot placement and the speed of getting those shots on target, that's absolutely the easy answer, and it's as simple as that. As long as you can get your gun out and get rounds on target quickly, you know the whole recipe. So it's that easy, and now everybody knows exactly how to do it, and they're set, right?
Mhm. Well, you've mentioned a lot of different things. You've talked about it being a perishable skill, and that's certainly true. Um, what one thing that I recommend to people is when you first start shooting, front load your training. So that first year, you should just take as much training as you possibly can because when you first start, you don't know what you don't know, and you really don't know what to practice because you've never really done it before. You've never been trained before. But once you learn that, and you'll see like a huge improvement from day one to day 365. But
Hmm.
then what people do after that is okay, I've mastered this, so to speak. I'm pretty good at this, so now I can relax. That's really not the case because it is a perishable skill, and I've learned that firsthand in my own life. So what I try to do is I try to get 50 rounds downrange every week, and that doesn't help me get better, but it helps me to maintain my present proficiency level. And then, as often as I can, I get out there and I'll shoot 200 or 300 rounds to try and improve things. But yeah, and then you mentioned dry fire. I really believe that dry fire is incredibly important. I just always tell my student, make sure the gun is not loaded. Okay, there's no ammo in the room, all of that. But I heard a stat several times, and I don't recall the source, but they said 90, with professional pistol shooters like competition guys and things like that, they say 90% of their personal practice is dry fire. And, that's a believable stat to me simply because when the crap hits the fan, it's about muscle memory. It's about, okay, it's either a habit, and so when I get under stress, my hands are going to move a certain way, my body's going to move a certain way because I've done it 20,000 times. Um, but that's one thing that I do a lot, especially for people who are transitioning from iron sights to red dot or any type of an optic because a lot of people, most people, they have trouble transitioning from iron sights to optics. Talk about that a little bit.
Yeah, so that can be a fun one. I have found that going with a larger window does seem to help. I don't know if that's a factual thing or a perception thing, but for some reason that does seem to help a little bit, the bigger
But
the
it's
window.
kind of like training wheels, right?
Yeah, and so like your Hollow Sun 507 comp or like the E-Flex or the Trijicon SRO, something like that. A big old window does seem to help, but a lot of the trouble with the transition from irons to dot, but I will say for anybody that's listening and thinking, oh, I'm just going to start with the dot, then that's a lot easier. That can be tough as well because I do believe that starting with irons is helpful because you build that foundation and you build that muscle memory. And when you're this might be some 101 stuff for your listeners that know all this, but so bear with me. With irons, you're lining up the three dots and you're getting them where you want them, and you've got a couple different points of focus that are getting lined up and getting that muzzle orientated with the target. When you come to a red dot, you only have one. So what I like to say is nobody would intentionally present their pistol wrong. That's not like a goal that you set out to do on the range where you say, all right, I'm going to present my pistol. It's going to be off target. The sights are going to be all wonky, and that's what we're going to do. Nobody does that. So we have this tendency to think that when we present the pistol on target, we think that it's where it needs to be. And then somebody that's new to a red dot might find that they're off kilter a little bit. Maybe they've got the muzzle kind of
Tilted
skewed.
up. Yeah.
Yeah, I was looking for a word there. Got the muzzle kind of skewed to the left or to the right or something like that. And they don't realize it because, again, they wouldn't intentionally present it wrong. So what you see is people present the pistol, they don't see the dot, because if it's for anybody that's not played with that before, you just plain won't see it because it's not lined up properly. So they don't see the dot, and then they overcorrect, kind of like, you're going down the road and you're distracted, and then you hit the rumble strips and you yank it left. That's what people tend to do, is they tend to, they're off kilter a little bit, so then they yank it in some direction that they think makes sense. They still don't see it, and then you'll see these kind of herky jerky movements. So that just takes repetition, where that gun has to be presented nice, flat, and level, and just right where it needs to be every time, and that takes repetition. Where you need really, these arbitrary numbers like 1,000, 10,000 that people throw out there. What is it? But that habit needs to be built. So making sure that when you present that pistol, it's nice and flat. And if you think about iron sights, those iron sights would be lined up, they'd be on target. And that's really the big hiccup that I see with getting started on red dots, is people not having that muscle memory built. And again, dry fire, that'll keep coming up. There is no reason that you need to spend 22 cents a round to figure out your dot presentation. That's,
Yeah, I agree. All good stuff. One thing that I do, every morning I'll go to the gun safe. I'll take my gun out, but before I holster it, I'll just drive out to an outer wall, find the dot, and then go ahead and holster my pistol. And when I put it back in the gun safe, I do the same thing, and that just helps a little bit. I mean, but that's after thousands of presentations. You just want to keep that. And I think what people do a lot of people, they'll go ahead and I'll be on the range with them and they're not shooting well at a distance or something like that. And I'll say, go ahead, try my gun. And they'll drive it out one time. They can't find the dot and then they'll get frustrated and say, no, I hate this. I'm not going to do that. And the thing is, what they're used to shooting irons for like 20, 30 years. And so it's already a tough sell to get them to change. But what I've found is, well, even when I shoot iron sights, when I drive out, are the front sight and the rear sight, are they perfectly aligned? No, they're not. But I can see them, so I can make a correction and I don't panic. Okay, it's the same way with other people, but where with a red dot, you drive out, it's like, no, I can't see the front side, I can't see the rear side, I see
Mhm.
nothing. Okay, and people panic, and then they just give up, and I would just they probably don't have a perfect draw stroke with their irons either. It's just that they don't panic because they can see the sights.
Yep. So they're afforded that adjustment, and a lot of times people don't even realize they're making those micro adjustments. Like
Yeah.
you said, they present and it's off a little bit, and they just kind of dial it in and sink it in, and then they take the shot. Whereas we're with a red dot, you're not going to have that forgiveness. And um, I think another thing on that too is um, when you're talking about hesitancy and that kind of stuff, where people are like, I don't like this thing. And another one is just the fact that it's electronic. I am a big fan of closed emitter, but there's a couple things there where open emitter red dots, which is basically the emitter that's projecting the dot, is open. Pocket lint, rain, all that stuff can get in there. And if it's closed, basically it's in a sealed housing, where the elements don't have access to it. So I like that, but then we get to the electronic and the battery part. Can they fail? Yes, absolutely. There's people that will tell you they can't. I disagree with that. They're electronic, and we all know that things that are manufactured don't last forever. So I think another good thing is to make sure that you have iron sights that, as we say, co-witness, where you can see the iron sights, you can still utilize those if your dot goes down, battery dies, breaks, something like that. That can help as well, where if somebody's got co-witnessing sights and they're having trouble finding the dot, and they're seeing what their iron sights are doing as well, that can kind of help too. It's not a perfect system, but it really just takes repetition. Just kind of like you said, where they're not used to that perfect draw stroke, and there's just a lot less variance and forgiveness by the red dot than there is with the irons, and so it takes lots of repetition, and that's I think the key is a lot of people, especially, I think I'd fall into this camp where there's the microwave generation where there's people that not that I believe this, but I think I'd be a part of that age group, I guess, where it's almost like a theory that there's people that believe that food's cooked in a microwave and that's how you cook food. And it's instant, it's quick, it takes 2 minutes, 3 minutes, whatever it is. And that's not how it works. It takes time, and that transition to a red dot's the same way. You're not going to get it in a day. You're not going to get it in 2 days. And I think knowing that might be helpful, so that people don't expect that, this just doesn't work for me. It likely works for you. It's just going to take some time and some repetition and build that muscle memory.
Yeah. Yeah, there's definitely an upfront investment. Trevor, we're about out of time, but before you go, um, just picture your curriculum, all the classes that you take in your own mind. Someone, they just got their CPL. Prior to that, they have little or no experience with handguns. What class would you steer them to in your curriculum to go on and get uh, better training?
Yeah, that's I love that question. It should be a simple answer, so I'll give one, but the more complex answer would be there's multiple. I would highly encourage medical, highly encourage at least a self-reflection on situational awareness and mindset and your why and that kind of stuff and what are you actually willing to do. But in terms of like pistol skills, I would definitely say we're in the process of rebranding this. We call it advanced pistol right now. Looking at changing it to performance pistol or something like that. But the curriculum won't change. It's more of a marketing thing. I would say that in terms of shooting skills, depending on what level your instructor took you to with your CPL or CWL, CCW, if you're in different states, the the big next step would be working on that draw, movement, utilization of cover, concealment, that kind of stuff. And that would be a good next step and something that we offer where you're actually going to do a 9 hour day on how to move, how to shoot on the move, how to shoot one-handed, how to shoot around cover, shoot from odd positions, and because I think that's really the biggest thing is the flat range is great. Standing in one spot and getting trigger time is always a good time. But at the end of the day, that's not how defensive encounters work. So that next step really has to revolve around reality and more of a reality-based training where we live in a world that's fluid and moving and dynamic, and it's not going to be sterile and stand in one spot and deliver rounds and bad guy goes down. It's not how it works. So that next step should absolutely be something where you're learning how to get that pistol out and on target efficiently and quickly, and then deliver rounds from really any number of positions, whether it be sideways, upside down, even. We kind of go through the whole gambit there, and then how to shoot around cover and shoot from odd positions and shoot around barriers and that kind of stuff. That's hopefully in your next step on that progression of because the ultimate goal is to be able to defend yourself and others, and so the big thing there is going to be making sure you're getting those rounds on target as quickly and accurately as possible.
All right, fantastic. Okay, Trevor, one more time, what's the website so people can get a hold of you if they want some of this training?
Trinity Training and Security.com.
Awesome. All right, Trevor, thank you very much for being on the Home Defense Show today.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me, Skip.
All right, folks, that about wraps it up for this week's show. I've had a good time, and I hope you have too. Please don't forget to thank our sponsors, Center Shot Indoor Gun Range at centershotgunrange.com, shootingclasses.com to help you find the right trainer for your needs, United States Concealed Carry Association, and also Trinity Training and Security. All right, I've written 20 plus books, and they're all available on Amazon.com in paperback, ebook, and audiobook. This week, check out my book, Sunrise Reflections, Finding Hope in Hard Times. I think you'll like it. And if you want training from me in person, then check out Midwest Tactical Training at shootingclasses.com. Please join us again next week for all your home defense needs. In the meantime, God bless and stay safe.
Coming to you from deep inside the bowels of a great big empty. Get ready for another episode of The Home Defense Show with Skip Coryell.
Bye-bye, boys!
Have fun storming the castle!
Firearms training should be easy. Instructors can focus on teaching and not worry about all the complex paperwork and management behind the scenes. Just pull the trigger and let us do the administrative work. Welcome to shootingclasses.com.
At Center Shot Gun Range, we are passionate about training. Don't know where to start? We offer a 1-hour new shooter seminar to introduce you to the world of firearms and help you find training opportunities specific to you. Concealed carry, home defense, firearm safety, AR-15, private one-on-one training, custom training, or maybe you're on a security team looking to protect your church or business. We even offer weekday morning and evening classes. Center Shot Gun Range has you covered. Start your journey at centershotgunrange.com.
Hey there. Yeah, you. It's time to level up your skills. Check out shootingclasses.com and explore a wide range of training options. With more than 50 types of classes to choose from, beginner to advanced, concealed carry to medical training, online sessions, and even non-live fire courses, there's something for everyone. Just enter your zip code, use the filters to narrow your search, and find the perfect class for you. This site has all the details: instructor bios, class info, requirements, available dates, and the option to register, all in one place. It's that simple at shootingclasses.com.
In today's world, safety and preparedness are more important than ever. At Trinity Training and Security, we offer comprehensive training for your peace of mind. Whether you're obtaining your concealed pistol license, mastering CPR and first aid, or engaging in scenario-based training, we've got you covered. We look forward to working with you in one of our classes or bringing the class to your church, school, or business. Need security for an event? Protecting your assets? Our team provides private security, close protection, media crew escorts, high security terminations, and more. Always with discretion and professionalism. With Trinity, safety is more than a service. It's a commitment.
Avoid danger, save lives, and keep your loved ones safe. If this sounds good to you, you sound good to me. And I'd like to help you do those things. Avoid danger, save lives, and keep your loved ones safe. If you're looking for more excitement in your life, we have nothing to offer you. But if you are a thoughtful, responsible, nonviolent man or woman, we'd love to teach you what to do if something crazy happens. More importantly, we'd like to teach you what not to do. We currently have over 500,000 members. They are doctors and single moms and firemen and grandmothers and veterans and Democrats and Republicans and members of every faith. But the one thing they all have in common is that they know exactly what to do if something crazy happens. When you're with one of our members, you are safe. Our members know how to de-escalate situations. They know how to calm things down. We are the United States Concealed Carry Association. See what we're all about at usconcealedcarry.com.
Discover the little-known backstory of the U.S. Concealed Carry Association at usconcealedcarry.com.